It's Tim Albright with AVNation with an AVNation special previewing AV3, the virtual event that we are doing alongside with AVIXA and our friends over at SCN, System Contractors News. June 17th, you can join us, join me, join Megan Dutta, lots of really smart people at AVIXA and with AV Network looking at the future of Pro AV, future of learning, the future of UC, and today we're going to talk about the future of digital signage. First and foremost, Mr. Chad Hudson from Leviathan. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Great to be here.
All right, thanks so much. And also with us is Kelly Smith. Kelly is from Cadillac Fairview. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Kelly is from Toronto. Chad is just up the road from me in Chicago, so go Bears. I like that. Chad, we'll start with you on this. The title of this session that we're doing on the 17th, it's called "The Future of Digital Signage." Right. A number of months ago, I did another podcast with a friend of mine, Brian Mazzaros from OpenEye Global, and Brian kind of threw me for a loop. And when I'll get into this a little bit, but he said. He goes, maybe we should stop calling it digital signage, right? Maybe it's something else now. So we're going to kind of maybe massage or look on that for a bit. When you look at the experience part of digital signage, right? What do you see kind of, the industry going, or the creatives going, or the customers, right? The people who are paying for this and looking at a blank wall or a spot in the retail, and they go, okay, I need something here. Where do you see that heading?
Oh, wow. There's a lot to unpack there. So digital signage for us is, it's not just any screen, but any kind of content. As an experience design firm, our team thinks about what is a cohesive narrative that can be threaded throughout a space or environment. So whether that's branded content that's very focused on the tenants in a space, or third-party advertising, which may or may not have a hand there, but even placemaking, I think, is an important part of what digital signage could be. You have a screen, it can display almost anything. And I think if it's carefully curated, we can have beautiful placemaking one moment that is, again, very integrated into the space. But we can also have advertising. We can have branded content that is that's informative, drives transaction. It could be a lot of different things, but I think, again, just that a lot of digital signage providers would probably think in terms of a media strategy. So we think in terms of similar to not just a media strategy, but just thinking about an experience strategy as well. So it's not just content on the screen, it's tied into the space much more closely.
All right, Kelly, same kind of question. Cadillac, Fairview, you guys own a number of screens. When you look at kind of what the next sort of question for the next installation, right, or the next development of a digital signage strategy, what do you look at, and where do you see this, kind of heading, and what sort of questions do you start to have to ask?
Yeah, what I'm really looking at is what business needs can we solve through the use of screens. Just to go back to that question you mentioned about should we still be calling it digital signage? I've heard for a number of years different people saying that we need to stop considering it one thing because it's a collection of so many different things: the hardware, software, the content, the plan. And so what we're really looking at when I make the decision to make a recommendation for screens of any size in any place in one of our properties is, what is the why? Why are we doing this? Is this going to solve a business need that isn't being met another way right now? And if it is going to solve it, is it the best way to do it? So the screens are really the how are we going to solve problems, not the start of the equation.
Well, and talk about that for a second, because when you look at a strategy of solving a business problem, there are several that we can go into here. I'm not going to ask you to do hypotheticals here, but when we talk about this is a collective of things, this can be a number of devices, and there are folks who are already using AI and AR, artificial intelligence and augmented reality. And the AI comes in when you are, walking down the street, looking at taking your mobile device out, and pointing it at something. And I am reminded of two different things, both of them in New York City. One was a number of years ago, Revlon had a sign, an ad on one of the signs in the middle of Times Square, where it was a kiss cam. In essence, it was a ginormous billboard-sized kiss cam where you and a loved one would kiss, and there was a camera there, and then they would put you up on the screen. The other side of that, though, was there's about a year or so later, somebody was doing a similar thing with Disney, and you would stand again in a certain spot, and then they would take your picture and put you next to an animated Disney character. Now, again, this is, back to Chad's point, more experiential, right? Folks are using their mobile devices, and they're sort of interactive. So when we look at taking kind of all of the things that folks are using now, and mobile devices, and these sorts of interactivity, is this where we're looking at this going, okay, you know what, this is a way for us to leverage not just a static screen, right, but everything here, and giving our really the people that we're trying to serve a real good experience.
Absolutely. The screens are absolutely becoming more and more integral to different types of experiences. And those can be short-term experiences that are set up for an activation period in a specific space where you want people to come and have some sort of memorable short-lived branded experience, but it could also be the experience of just being in the space. And I think that understanding the different strategies behind the two is also really important. Things like that kiss cam may be great for a short time frame experience, but that's not a sustainable thing to leave and set and forget. It requires a little bit more attention than that. So
Chad, talk for a second about these multiple platforms that we can use and leverage now. Again, this is kind of getting us beyond, the screens, but this is more a platform play, right? Where that same platform can go in different directions and different devices, I guess is the best way to put this. Talk about the platform play here, and the ability to tie all these disparate things into that one experience.
Sure thing. Well, I mean, obviously there are a lot of platforms out there that can help schedule content. We'll call it a content management system or a scheduling system. And there's, instead of just having pulling up essentially what might be construed as a web page or static ads or videos, there's no reason why you can't also have what we'll call generative content or real-time data visuals. That could be something that's a bit more abstract. It could be if you have something in Times Square with various sensors or data feeds that exist, feeding that into this system in real time and sort of scheduling that for blocks. Also triggering these other, having different sensors that can trigger interactions, depth cameras or 3D cameras that can allow for dynamic movement or tracking, or that augmented reality play that we were talking about a moment ago. So I mean, again, it's if you think of it, it's not just a screen; it's also a computer, and there's additional peripherals you can have with that computer and that screen. So I mean, whether it's go beyond the thought of a desktop computer and think about it's a giant computer in Times Square or in an elevator, in a lobby, or in a shopping space. A lot of what we do is not only with larger brands and branded experiences, but also in Disney Universal parks. So taking some of that fun and that surprise delight out of the park and putting it into digital signage and environment is, I think that is going to be more prevalent as time goes on.
I want to bring up something here that I have taught myself, I guess, or learned through talking to really smart people like you guys, and some of the dynamic content is based on demographics, right? And the media and the press will try to sensationalize it. Well, you know what? Advertisers are marketing you. They're they're doing facial recognition, and I have kind of gotten away from facial recognition and saying, you know what? It's demographic recognition, right? They don't see necessarily, in the old adage or the old connection is the Minority Report movie, right? Where the Tom Cruise walks by it scans his eyeball and goes, okay, Tom Cruise, here's a Coke or whatever. It's not quite doing that, but it is saying, if Chad and I walk by a billboard, they could serve up something that is more in line with us, as opposed to if Kelly and my wife walks by. There are certain things. Chad, is there a line? Where's the line? And I'm not going to say is there a line. There is a line, but where is that line between creepy and really useful, right, experiences when it comes to creating some of this interactive and these dynamic ads and these dynamic experiences based on demographics?
Yeah, great question. I know that there was a bit of a maybe backlash is a bit too strong of a term, but there are certain sensors, I won't say manufacturers' names, but some of these other depth camera sensors that can not only sense depth and motion action, but could also sense heart rate, can sense if you're happy or sad, or even cue into roughly what age you are. So I think that if you take that too many steps in the wrong direction, you do have not just the Minority Report analogy, but just invasion of personal privacy. But I think just taking a cross section of that data and keeping it somewhat anonymous will allow those real-time experiences and that AI to react for the masses, and think of it more as a generalized sample set of who's in that demographic, and pair that with time of day, who's in the space at certain amounts of at certain times of day, and what type of personas are there, what types of demographics, and have that to drive some of the content without it being so hyper personalized. That said, I think that if a user is willing to give up more of their own personal data, let's say if they have an app on their phone that could give them something special in return, I think that that's where the swap is worthwhile, where if they're willing to share where they're from, just more personalized data about themselves, and they will in turn get a more enhanced experience because of it. I mean, you see that every day on people's own mobile devices. If they're willing to share all that data, they're going to get such hyper-targeted advertising and experiences. So why wouldn't they do that with digital signage as well? But the payoff has to really be there.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Is that trade-off between what you're giving and what you're getting, right? Kelly, either from kind of like Fairview, or Kelly's also on the board of DSF. Talk about this for a second and that line.
I think no matter what, any organization who is deploying external sensors into their digital signage experiences or installations, I think doing so with privacy at the front of mind is absolutely important. I think that different countries have different tolerances for different levels of privacy. Understanding those is absolutely important. Understanding and communicating, making sure you are being fully transparent with what you're doing with people's information, I believe is important. I also believe that organizations that are able to prove results or create these amazing experiences with the highest privacy standards possible are the ones that are going to come out ahead in the end of this. Not that there is an end, but
well, no, it's a good point. Yeah,
those that are able to create that highly contextually relevant moment where the content is hitting just right, that it's the most perfect thing that needs to be there at that time, but also doing that with the highest privacy standards. That's the goal.
I like that. That's a good place to stop. Thank you both so much. You can hear both Kelly and Chad and myself and a couple of other folks on June 17th for the AV3 event. Ourselves and Avixa and SCN will be joining us that day. Chad Hudson, thank you so much from Leviathan. How do people connect with you and or Leviathan?
I'm always available on LinkedIn, Chad Hudson. It's pretty simple. Leviathan's website is lvthn.com, or just Leviathan without the vowels.com. Come check it out.
All right. Thank you so much. Kelly, thank you so much. How do people connect with you or Cadillac Fairview?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Kelly Smith, Cadillac Fairview. If you are in Canada, you can visit one of our retail shopping centers.
All right, very good. And Kelly is on the DSF board. Chad is a member of SEGD, so you can check those out as well. For us, for AVNation, you know what? Go by the event page and register. You get yourself 4.75 CTS RUs. That's an AVIXA certification RU renewal unit. Hang out with me and Megan Dutta and a bunch of really smart people on June 17th. So go to av3event.com. That's av3event.com.